Hey everybody, welcome. This is the Live Hour Show with Jon Kovach Jr. I'm president of Amplified Minds and founder of the Champion Circle. Hey, today I wanted to touch on a topic that's been it has been on my mind, and it's something that I'm learning and growing and passionate about. And I wanted to elicit a discussion with you, my followers, my listeners, my friends, and connections. And as a result of all of this, I want to talk about this topic so that you and I set a better world and set some better expectations. Right now, I'm pulling up my live feed and I'm going to bring down the volume. There we go. Hey, Wen Bradshaw is watching. Hey, Wen, glad to hear from you. Glad to see you. I'm actually going to put my phone right here. Todd Sue is watching. Love it, you guys. Thanks for jumping in. What's funny is because I do this through a platform called StreamYard, I don't actually get to see who's jumping on live unless you press comment or leave a comment or something. And then if you like the video, I don't see that until after. So I actually decided to pull up the feed on my phone simultaneously to actually commenting. So if you'd like to say hello, please send a hello in the comment section. If you'd like to remain anonymous, I'm going to just call you out as you jump on the live feed. So I appreciate it. Kato, Fakatamum. Okay, man, dude, I'm going to try this right. Fakatumafi. Kato Fakatumafi, dude. Watching. Awesome. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate you, man. And I appreciate everyone watching. But today I wanted to cover a topic that I think is a little touchy and a little interesting. But I've been going through this process for over a year now. And just in one conversation with several professionals, I realized and recognized how silly something that I was believing was creating a culture of shame in my life. And all of us have learned and have felt and have been accused and have been pointed fingers at, but essentially a lot of us have felt shame and a lot of us have been shamed. And you know what's funny about it is because of shame, we have also shamed others. I know. No one's perfect, and we've all shamed others. We've shamed things. We've shamed topics. We've shunned on various things and concerns. And I think that that's a very, very fascinating topic. And I want to bring this into context because this morning with one of my clients, we had a discussion about shame. And it wasn't intended to go that direction. We were talking about cannabis culture, and we were talking about how in high school, everybody knows who the potheads, the smokers are, right? And they all kind of do their thing. And then everyone says, don't associate with the potheads or the smokers. They're the druggies, right? And there's a difference, right? There's a difference. But in the world of medical cannabis, everyone in medical cannabis is pushing a non-recreational cannabis dialogue. Nobody wants recreational cannabis because apparently it ruins economies and it ruins a lot of cultures. And I don't know if I have an opinion on it or not. I don't know yet, but it was very, very interesting because we started talking about this shaming culture. And a lot of the religious cultures or cult cultures or even organizational cultures shame very, very interesting beliefs on various practices. Before I get into that, let me just make a shout out. Jennifer Leeds. Hey, welcome. Glad you're watching. Blake, Tony Griffiths. Man, you've got the name of an all-star. It's great to hear from you, bud. I haven't seen you in a long time. Maybe you have been watching this whole time and I had no idea. Deanne, I'm gonna obliterate your name. Deanne Sconiers. I'm gonna go with that. Sconiers. Glad you're watching. Thanks for participating. If anyone has any questions, please send it to the chat section, the comment section. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have or address any of the comments or concerns you have. Carlene Horn-Creer, nice to see you. Thank you for watching. And then Andrew Loveless-Lip, my man. I love your words. You're awesome, dude. I appreciate you in the life and the leadership that you're living. Okay. So shame culture, it's happened to a lot of us. I think it's fascinating. And I've used Gary Vaynerchuk as a great example in a lot of my talks. Not that I'm a big fan am not a big fan of Gary V. I'm very indecisive on how I feel about him, but he does have incredible content and he does produce results and he does care about people. and he's explicit. He's blatant and he's explicit and he's bold with people, and because of that, he tends to be a front runner for a lot of people who need someone to rest on. And I think that's interesting, but I want to talk about the shame culture, right? So in the example I gave at the beginning of this call or this live hour was there's this culture in the cannabis industry that shame, you're shamed if you smoke cannabis, if you smoke flower, right? Because you are a pothead, you are a smoker, you are somebody who smokes, and that's bad. And that's not fair, because there are people in this world who need the benefits of getting cannabis through medical procedures. One includes topicals, one includes ingestion, and the other includes smoking. And most people think that, smoking cigarettes, smoking tobacco is a correlated discussion, right? It's a correlated topic, but the truth is we don't know. You don't know, because the experts in the medical industry are saying that no, it's a form of ingestion, or it's a form of something that helps these people. And a lot of them need it because of anxiety, high depression, a lot of other symptoms, pain that cannot be resolved through pills or narcotics, right? And so it's just a fascinating topic, and I really, really love talking about it, because for the longest time, there were things in my life and in my culture that I was taught or raised in a shameful environment. And it's not to say, my parents were bad or anyone was bad who shamed me or talk about, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that when we use shame to scare people out of doing things, then we're not doing the right thing. Okay. A lot of parents get lazy. A lot of leaders get lazy in how they present content, or how they administer rules or foundations or pillars of the life or the expectations of a life, right? And they do so by using shame. For example, I grew up knowing that if I ever got a piercing, that my parents would most likely rip that piercing out. They would rip my skin and rip it out. And that's not saying I'm not saying I'm bad parents. I love my parents, but I lived in a culture where if I had a piercing, that I'd be looked down upon, right? Or if I swore, if I used inappropriate language, right? If I used certain things in my life, those things would be frowned upon. And so it's fascinating to me that we as mentors, we as stewards, we as teachers, we as people who work together in this culture of helping each other and adding great ideals and uplifting one another and loving each other, that sometimes we get lazy and we use shameful tactics to discard or to give people to fear the usage or the activity of a certain practice, right? And I think that's fascinating, because at the end of the day, shame is only going to cause more damage than anything else. Now, communication. There was a lady on our live hour this morning for the CBD Collective. You guys should go check it out, by the way. Utah CBD Collective, they're one of my clients, and we work together to help them leverage a platform for people to talk now and to educate others. We just talked about inviting teachers, administrators, and education providers to cannabis meetings, local cannabis meetings, so that they could understand the science and the medical use of cannabis, so that they could stop shaming people who use it in recreational ways and start encouraging people to be aware of it and to be find alternatives, or to find pieces in their lives that will make it good. Because the second you say, oh, you're a pothead because you smoke pot, but that person uses medical cannabis to help them with the need, we've just deemed that person as shamed and appropriate and shunned from our cultures and our societies. And you don't know that person needs that particular thing to medicate them, right? So all of the above, it's super important for us to focus on loving and trusting and connecting and building and being open around other people. So that's kind of the topic of discussion I wanted to get into. And I wanted to share, how we can stop shame culture in building relationships, when we connect with people, and when we market or when we advertise. Because when we do that stuff, we are contributing to shame culture. We are causing more damage than attracting more people. Attraction marketing is something that I've learned a lot over these years. In fact, the first person who introduced it to me was a lady by the name of Melissa Summers. Shout out to Melissa. She actually came on my podcast, and we talked about attraction marketing and how it's more than just marketing. It's a relationship device. It's a way to build relationships with each other. There are so many people jumping in. I'm going to take a quick ADHD timeout. And I'm just going to make a quick shout out here to a bunch of people who jumped on. I said hi to Deanne. Hi, Deanne. Carlene, so hi to see you. Andrew, okay, and then catching up. We've got Michael Barcelona Tarauba. Hey, Elder, kumusta ka na? We've got Josh Hook. Sage Page. Hey, what's up, Sage? Josh Hook, nice to see you. JD Laritzen. Hey, man, you are awesome. You're such a good person to talk about this stuff, especially as it comes to legal things. David Rockwood is watching. Hey, appreciate that, David. Appreciate you. And he's an absolute expert in this space. We've got a few comments, and please come contribute to the comments. I'll get to those in a minute. Andrea Finau. Hey, Andrea. Are you related to Tony? Because I've played golf with him. And there we go. I've caught up on everyone who's joined. So thank you for watching. Thanks for contributing. And thanks for the great comments and support. So in a world of shame culture, right? And I'm not saying everyone does it, but we've all contributed. We have all been shamed. So many of you have said the phrase or have thought the phrase or have even thought the thought that, there are some things you like about how your parents raised you, and there are some things you didn't, and there's probably things you're going to do differently than what your parents did. But the truth is because you were raised that way, you are 90% more likely to repeat the process in which they trained you and raised you, because that's what you know. Unless you're actively participating in cultures, groups, support groups, we'll call them peer groups and social networks, okay? Unless you're actively participating in the practice of withstanding those practices and encouraging new practices, you are 9 times more likely to actually repeat what your parents did for you. Because that's what you remember, that's what you know, and it's personal. It's an action that's embedded through emotion. And I think that that's a fascinating piece, right? Because you've got to focus on things that are intentional and focused. I have a member of my family who believes very, very differently in the communication with their children. And I'm no child expert. I am no communication expert. I'm a business and professional communication expert, but not in child to parents relations, though I think they're very, very similar, and I have my opinion. So remember, everything I say, you guys, I'm endorsing my MBA in my opinion. I have an MBA or a master's degree in my opinion, and so therefore it's good. But with this, a lot of times people are associated with what they were raised by. Now, I think if you're not actively practicing new practices, you will continue to do and pass along the things that your parents, probably passing on what their parents, and probably passing on what your kin have done for hundreds of years. So just be aware of that. If you're not actively reading, engaging, educating, and coming up with new tactics to live an incredible life and the way you want it and the way you want to raise it, then you're most likely going to repeat the past. So as I was saying, there's a member of my family, and the member of my family believes very, very differently on communication. Instead of scolding and instead of yelling, what they do is they take their child aside one-on-one, keep eye contact, and it's very abrasive. It's very militant, I would say. But they sit down, they ask what's going on, and they'll just keep asking until they get to the root of the issue. And they talk about the importance of communication. And this 2-year-old, I'm serious, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old and up, they're able to somehow squeak out what they're trying to communicate. And when you listen, you're able to understand. And that to me is a cool tactic. I don't know if either I agree or disagree, but it's a cool tactic because it eliminates shame, right? It allows trust and it allows an open environment for you to communicate with one another. Now think about that in your life and in your business. Are you participating in shameful culture, right? Are you Trump hater? Are you Democrat hater, right? Or are you something like are you shaming something, right? We don't want to side with shame culture. So if there's a particular politics culture that you think, oh man, they're shaming, don't engage, but also bring to light, right? You can do that. You can absolutely do that. So it's a fascinating topic. It's an interesting thing. It didn't come to my conclusions, and I had an epiphany today when we had this live hour. Is that there are things in our lives that we are not challenging because we've been shamed into believing that that's just the way it is. Okay. And I want you to be open to the fact that you're not a pothead if you smoke pot. If you smoke medical cannabis, you're not a pothead. If you had a miscarriage, you were not a horrible person. You did not mistreat your body, and that didn't do its thing. A large percentage, and I throw out percentages based on majority. They don't actually represent true percentages, so I hope that you understand that. But there is a large majority of people who have miscarriages before they can actually give birth. And that's sad because a lot of women feel that shame. They feel that hardship, and that's a difficult thing. A friend on here watching, Faust Bellarmino, huge shout out to him. He's actually raising a 501c3 nonprofit and an organization that helps women with postpartum. And I just had a conversation about it, and I'm going to bring him on the show here eventually, and we're gonna talk about it, and so we can introduce that culture and understand. But it's just fascinating, you guys, because I also, and I'm jumping around here, I hope you're keeping up, but I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with a friend who wants to join a mastermind, but they were ashamed, and they were asking if there were any groups that would be okay with having someone who was in the deaf or hearing impaired community. And I said, wait. Why would you need to be ashamed to enter our groups and ask if we are accommodating, when we should ask you, how can we accommodate? How can we make this better for you, right? There was something about their life and their lifestyle and their culture that they had been shamed into believing that everyone lives the world without hearing impaired people. And we forget about that culture because they can't speak for themselves, right? Isn't that interesting? And so this whole topic has just been brewing in my brain, and I love it. And I just think it's absolutely crazy and amazing at the same time. But there are so many things that we do and believe and participate in our cultures and in our practices that we don't recognize that we're participating in, we're being affected by, and we're contributing to shame culture. And now I'm not saying shame on you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that a lot of us need to be aware. I'm going to address some of these comments here. Jennifer says, Yepper, she wrote her book about that. And you guys should all go check out Jennifer Leeds' book. Sorry, let me grab it. I put it right here. Dare to Heal. There you go. Free advertising. There you go. All right. And then Andrew says, thanks for the community discussion, brother. Dude, I respect you so much. You're awesome. It's also spiritual to too many to ignore. Yeah, it really is. It's something that we need to talk about. And I have a hard time keeping focus on it because, again, I'm not an expert in this. I don't really actually know. But check this out. Jennifer says, it's a miracle, and I'm not ashamed anymore to say I use it when I need to. I can't use anti-inflammatory drugs. And a lot of people are the same way. Narcotics hurt a lot of people. There's a lot of things that a lot of people can't take, and all of our bodies are different. Not everyone can take cannabis. Not everyone can take CBD and feel the effects. Not everyone can take, not everyone can eat sweet potato. Like, there are superfoods out there that people can't participate in because their bodies. And so it's all about process of elimination, but it's also not being shamed in the process. Okay. So I hope that was a powerful statement. It's all about process of elimination, what works for you and what helps you live your best life, but without feeling shame in the process. Sage Page, hey, my mom said that to my sister once. That's interesting. Yeah. It's fascinating, and that's okay. We just need to address it. Right. And I brought up Gary Vee on this because he did say something recently in an interview that I totally respected. Somebody asked, how do you overcome the challenges of feeling that pressure from family members or friends or culture? And Gary Vee just said, what's going to be your ultimatum is you care too much about what they think of you for you to say, just shove off, like go away. Like that's your opinion. And I respect that, but it's not my reality. And I totally respected that. Now, obviously, I took out a bunch of explicitives and superlatives that Gary Vee uses. But at the same time, remember that, we don't want to create a culture of shame in our addresses. Okay. And we do this in marketing and advertising. We do this in business. It's just, it's a fascinating topic. Josh Hook says, great stuff, man. Thank you. Sage says, absolutely, yes. Jennifer says, I love this much needed conversation. I feel it boils down to judgmental thinking. Now, let me talk about that for just a second, because as I process my thoughts here, you guys get to see the face of a man with ADHD who has a lot of thoughts and a lot of comments and a lot of passion for things. But this morning, there are things in my life where I was like, wow, how much have I contributed to the shame culture, right? How much have I've come out and I've said some things like, masterminds don't work. And I did this in an advertising campaign. So if anyone finds that campaign, watch the whole campaign because you'll hear the explanation. But I came out and I said something just like totally aggressive and opposite to what I actually believe to capture attention. And that was not necessarily the right thing to do. But I think it's fascinating that you need to come out and you need to be bold. You need to be able to take a stand. But you shouldn't take a stand just to fish people into, catfish people into programs or campaigns, right? I look at the bookshelves of Barnes & Noble probably every week. It's my great addiction. As you can't tell, I've got a lot of books on the shelf here. That's only half of them, maybe not even a quarter of them. But there's some books out there that I think are total just like clickbait. And I don't agree with clickbait, but I do think that they have a way of capturing people, which is something that I study and I watch. And anytime that the F word, F-U-C-K, is used in the title of a book or in the title of a thing, it is a total clickbait word because it's aggressive, it's abrasive, it's got coarse, it's got this connotation behind it. And it is such an aggressive word that it turns heads. And whether you like that word or dislike that word, whether you agree or disagree, it turns your head because you're aware of it. It fills a room no matter when you say it or who says it. And when you use that word in your titles or when you use that word in a book title, to me, it's absolute clickbait. And I think it's interesting, but it's also a great way to push the agenda, right? It's a way to push the message. There's a one word, it's The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, Mark Manson. And I love that book. I absolutely love that book, but I would call it out and say, dude, that's total clickbait, because people are going to say, well, yeah, there's no subtle fact of using that word, but yet they use that word in the sentence of subtle. So I think that's fascinating. But remember, how you use your words could come across as shameful culture. If I say, there's another book out there, and I forget the author. I think it's I forget it. But it's Unf Yourself, right? And that, again, to me is clickbait. But I read that book, I buy that book, and I study that book because I want to know why they used that and why they came up with that. It's a self-development book, right? And so all in all, that book is shame culture. Like, we've all been messed up, so go unmess yourself up. Like, do that. But it's fascinating to me that was the approach that they took. Yeah, it's bold. Yep, it caught my attention. Yeah, I spent money on it because I wanted to learn and I wanted to grow. I don't know if everyone else is like me. I think a lot of people in our older generation would see that and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm not going to touch that with a 9-foot pole." Like that's something I don't want to classify. So interesting conversation. Andrew says, "He without sin cast the first stone" is quite hard to live by. Yeah, dude, I love that. What great wisdom. 95% of our lives is lived by our subconscious. That is a startling truth. Yeah. Some of us aren't living in the present because we're living by a subconscious. I think that's fascinating. Sage says he loves that. Hey, Mary, so great to see you. Some great new friends on here, and I love this culture and I love these people. So I usually do the live hour, and it's a live hour. It usually takes a whole hour, but because of ADHD, sometimes it goes longer, and sometimes I just need to keep it short. So today I wanted to keep it short, but I wanted to challenge you. I wanted to challenge you to focus on what you say. And I wanted you to focus on what you do and how you contribute. And I also wanted to help you recognize that by talking about these things, talking about these discussions with people who have either shamed you or people who might be objective to, subjective is the word I'm looking for. Subjective to shame is great, especially our young folks, our kids, our teenagers. A friend who I work with had to take their friend to a cannabis farm to go do some service, and their teacher in school said, "You're doing something that's illegal. You probably shouldn't be doing that." And so all the ride down to do this service project for a cannabis farm to help their friend out, she felt ashamed. And the entire way down, the mom had to, help this person understand that there are that it's okay, that it is legal, that this is a hemp farm, and that they're growing hemp for various, uses, including CBD materials and stuff like that. And it's a good plant. And even when she was, budding the flowers and stuff like that, she still felt weird and awkward about it. And they had to help this person unfeel the shame that they felt from their teacher. So when you're in a position of power, a position of mentorship, a position of influence, remember how much power you actually have over people. I can remember very few things that my professor said to me, but I can always remember what they told me not to do. And I can always remember the good times that we had. But the things that I was told not to do will always stick with me, because we innately as humans hate being told what to do and what not to do. And those things stick with us. So just remember to be aware of that. And if you need to talk it out like my sister-in-law does with her children, right? You need to focus on talking and discussing. So that was a really cool topic. I actually had another plan to talk today about a couple books, but I abandoned that because this was just so interesting. And it was so important to me that we talked about it. I wanted to make a shout out to Ashley Garb Smith. Hey, Ashley, welcome. I'm glad you're listening. I hope you get anything out of this. I appreciate it. Jennifer says, rule number 1. I'm going to bring her comment up. One must never should on anyone, including themselves. The moment we should on someone, the shame ensues. I absolutely love that quote. And here's let me challenge that, Jennifer. I love you and I respect you. And let me challenge that, right? Here we are saying rule number 1, one must never. Okay, so think about that. One must never. Thou shalt not, right? Thou shalt not. The one must never. And think about this, because when we tell people what they can and can't do, are we contributing or are we not? Now, I'm not calling you out or anything. I'm just showing an example. What if we were to redirect that and say, let's take this as a live example, okay? One must never should on another. So let me just say this. If I tell people that are shoulding on others and themselves that, that they're ensuing shame, let me just say this. Let's say you do not have to should on yourselves. In fact, you're probably causing more damage than you did before. But remember, as you think about that which is most important and that which is exciting to you and that which is going to help you live the greatest life, that will help you most. And I encourage you to abandon all other practices that don't help you move closer to that which you want to achieve. Now, I know that's super long drawn out, it's super flowery, yada, yada. There are ways that we could do this. And like I said, I'm no expert in this. I just wanted to talk about it, and I need to practice this. But it was so top of mind, and I couldn't extinguish it from my brain that I had to share it with you today. So even this topic, even this discussion is so ADHD and so off the walls and bouncy balls. But like I don't know how else to communicate it other than think more intentionally about how we communicate, right? Now, it doesn't mean you have to think about every word you're going to say. Like, it's good to be okay. It's good to think about what you should say and what you shouldn't say. But remember, the second we tell what people can and can't do, right? Think of it this way. If I were to say, when you treat others bad, they will treat you bad too. So don't treat others bad, right? We all agree with that concept, but that rule is telling me, it's giving me fear, right? It's shaming me for treating other people bad. Whereas let's create the actual golden rule, which was worded like this: treat others as you want to be treated. And that's not suggesting that you will be treated like the way you treat others, but it's suggesting that you contribute to the treatment of goodwill and fortune. So I believe in the law of reciprocity. I believe in how you help other people. And I believe in these golden rules. And our language has shifted so much. The English language has shifted so much since we've grown and evolved and so forth. And there are better ways to say things. And sometimes I love reading books of the past, books of decades of old, because they were more intentional with their words. Whereas today we have a hard time going a sentence without using superlatives, because we believe that they intensify what we're trying to say. I read Think and Grow Rich, and every sentence I feel like buries me, because it is so amazing how they were able to communicate the actual skills of success without shaming people into believing that poverty is exceptional. Okay. And so I absolutely love that. And I love that topic. Jennifer responds with, redirection is okay. I'm always open to conversation. Rewording is key. It's the should elimination. And it could be, and it couldn't be. Like I'm indifferent to it. It was just a really good example to play with. And so I love that. And I love the topic because we can talk about it back and forth and really suggest. But what I'm ultimately getting at, and I just wanted you guys to, I want to thank you for bearing with me on this and these conversations. But what I'm ultimately getting at is that when you contribute to shame culture, you're only passing forward that which was done to you. So think about the golden rule here. And I can't believe I'm going back to the golden rule, right? I'm going back to elementary school. We repeated this out loud every day after the Pledge of Allegiance, right? And in that culture, we shared that do unto others as you would have done unto you. And I would say that in your life and in your business and in your advertising and marketing and in your messaging and in your communication, all of those things are important. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. Okay. Now there are marketing tactics that are involved in psychology and the brain and getting people to buy based on wordage and communication tactics. And I believe in all that stuff. And I love how it works because I'm a very, very great product of those discussions and those studies. But what I would say is remember to be intentional. Solve problems, don't create them. Solve problems, don't create them. In some of my advertising campaigns, I said things that were controversial and contradictory to what I believed, but I used it as fish bait, and I'm ashamed of that. Now, I won't feel ashamed because I've moved on. I've progressed. I've gotten better from those. And I've learned a lot, and I call myself out. I'm the best at calling myself out, and you guys should be too. Get really good at calling yourself out, because once you do that, the facts will set you free. And that's been my live hour today. I appreciate all of you for joining and contributing. Thank you for your comments. If any of you have ever had a question or wanted to talk to me in private or wanted to converse, I am open to conversations. Please send me a direct message here on Facebook. I would be happy to connect with you. A lot of the times when I connect with you, I ask you a few questions. And some of the questions I ask are, what's the number one thing you need in your life right now? Because a lot of you who do know me know that I have a utility belt of resources, and I am a natural connector. I speak on a lot of topics, including accountability and partnership and communication and connection and networking. And when you use all of those together in one environment, in one attempt, you can find power in your universe, and you can grow your network, and you can reach beyond the we'll call them the shackles of poverty and the shackles of middle class. And you can find yourself in a position to actually make your life and your living and your lifestyle come to fruition. And I'm a very, very big fan of that. And I'm super excited to be an advocate for that. So please reach out if you have any questions. This week's campaign is that we are actually on my podcast, the Circle of Knowledge podcast. We talk and interview with professionals about their books, principles, their knowledge, and the things that they know and learn and love. And because of that, we give an opportunity to bring you on the show. If that's of interest to you, please send me a message. Also, if you're looking to create and contribute more content, if you need help building more content, I launched during COVID-19 while I was sitting on my couch trying to do a job remotely that isn't really a remote job. I created another business, and I launched a virtual assistant support company based in the Philippines, supporting local causes there. And we provide content for content creators. We can turn one piece of content like a video into 60 pieces of content in just 24 hours. And we can turn around and help that populate your website and create incredible campaigns for you. That company is called Content Caddy. If you're in need of a virtual assistant, please reach out to me. I'd be more than welcome to evaluate and see what you need and if we can help you. Think of it this way. If I were to jump on a live every day, I can turn each one of your lives into an ebook that you can use to give away for free and build credibility amongst your fans. That's what we do here at Amplified Minds, is we provide professionals an opportunity to become absolute authorities in their industry and in their space, whether it be local, national, online, or virtual. Okay. And then last but not least, if you need help setting up a podcast, Jennifer Leeds is a great example of this. My friend Jennifer, we set up her podcast and now she's rocking and rolling, going every week. She's talked to incredible speakers like Eric Swanson with the Habitude Warrior team. She's talked to several individuals who I envy and who I just want to be a part of their network too. And it's been really, really awesome and cool. Man, I want to do a huge shout out to Wendy Lee Simmons, who's just given me the love right now. All these likes and loves and hearts. Thank you so much, Wendy. I am so appreciative of your support. And I just wanted to make a huge shout out to contact me. And I love that. Wendy says, I did not listen to the whole thing. Can you tell me what you do? Wendy, I'll reach out to you personally and we'll have a conversation. I do these live hours every day. And you can always go back and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel if you ever want to catch any of the content. Every week, I teach people how to build valuable connections that actually help them get paid. I help them build partnerships that live longer than your typical transactional relationship you build at networking events. I host masterminds, and I also host networking groups that lead to mastermind communication, that build relationships that turn you into a champion in what you do. And I run Amplified Minds, which is a company that creates professionals into absolute authorities in their space. So those are some of the things that I do. And by the way, I'm just a public speaker with ADHD who has a million stories that loves to tell on stage that are all related to the development of you, to the growth of yourself. And that's just something that I love to participate and contribute in. So I hope that answers your question, but I'll reach out to you and we'll have a great conversation together. By the way, you guys, untapped resource of the week is Facebook Messenger. Facebook Messenger is one of the coolest apps that if you use for business, you can totally eradicate the need for anything else in communication, because you can call, you can video chat, you can send videos, you can send reminders, you can download documents, you can send people I think you can send about 80 photos at once. I love it. I'm learning to love it so much more. You can tag groups. It doesn't cost for text, SMS messaging. It is a great, great app. Okay. You wonder why every quarter Facebook is growing at approximately $8 billion in growth revenue each quarter of each year. That's what's my math here? 8 times 4, 8, 16, 24, 32. So they're growing at about $32 billion with a B, $32 billion a year in growth just on their apps. That's not the total sales they're making. That's just the growth. So isn't that fascinating? So just know where you need to be. Love it. Awesome. What a great conversation. We did everything from introductions, shout outs, to talking about shame culture, to talking about what I do and how we can connect and how we can build a relationship. I appreciate you all. Thank you for joining me on this live hour. Join me tomorrow and next week, because we're going to be doing some great interviews and having some awesome conversations with some of my network and some professionals. And just by the way, wherever you are in the world, if you reach out to me, I can find a way to build a mastermind near you. If you are in the Philippines, I can create opportunities for you there. If you're in New York City, still in lockdown and in quarantine, I know of how you can still participate in communication, connection, and peer groups that will leverage and open up your business to worlds of opportunity. If you have or need connections and you are not willing to go outside because of the fear and the anxiety hitting you, I have resources for you. So again, just send me a direct message. I'm happy to help. This is another hour by Jon Kovach Jr. I'm going to sign off before I continue spouting off awesome stuff. Thank you, and goodbye.